Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Feeling much better, feeling upbeat, and just feeling good, man. You guys, are getting me through this. I really appreciate it. Smash the like button, guys. As always, give the channel a backing, a push, a support, share the videos, hit the subscribe button, but remember to smash that like button. Really home in on that like button, guys. I really appreciate your support. Before I start this video, I want to give a shout out to Shin Shampoo. I like to think he's a subscriber. He said, Imran, stop going on about this topic about Usyk, Crawford and Canelo. Now, it's not really a debate or a discussion. I appreciate all of you guys as leaving your opinions, and I saw that sometimes I do get a bit repetitive, and sometimes I do talk about the same stuff. It's just the demand. It's just what I get asked a lot on Instagram, and a lot of you guys probably love me talking about Canelo, and Canelo is, and one of you said, I think it was Shin Shampoo, that you get a lot of views with Canelo. Yeah, I do, because Canelo's the biggest star in the sport. I wanted to address you, Shin Shampoo, because I think you misunderstood what I said yesterday, where you said something about Canelo's not pleasing to the eye. If you go watch that video that I put up yesterday, Shin Shampoo, I never once said Canelo wasn't an exciting fighter. I never once said that Usyk and Crawford are more exciting than him. What I meant from that was, aesthetically, Crawford and Usyk look more skilled than Canelo. Even though I don't agree with that, if you ask a lot of hardcore boxing fans, a lot of them will say that Usyk and Crawford are more skilled than Canelo Alvarez, even though, like I said to you, I don't agree with that. But speaking to a lot of boxing fans, online, on Instagram, on Twitter, a lot of them will say that Usyk and Crawford are better boxers than Canelo Alvarez. That's what I meant by pleasing to the eye. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think Canelo has attributes. Canelo doesn't really get respect for his boxing skills. Canelo is seen as a powerhouse, whereas Usyk and Crawford are seen as boxers. They're seen as guys that dismantle you. Canelo also dismantles you, but Canelo can dismantle you in a different fashion. And I'll explain what I mean. When Canelo fought Billy Joe Saunders, I know there were some people that had Saunders ahead. I had Canelo winning that fight up until, but look at the way Canelo ended that fight. Canelo ended that fight with a massive uppercut. He can change the fight with one punch. He was losing the fight against Amir Khan in the sense that on points, and then he knocked him cold. Canelo can change the fight like that. He's seen as a powerhouse, even though he's not. Even though Canelo's very skilled fighter. So that's what I meant by when I said aesthetically, Crawford and Usyk are more pleasing to the eye, to the boxing fans, in terms of technical skills. Now, that doesn't mean that Usyk and Crawford are more exciting. And you said something, Shin Shampoo, you said something like, well, Canelo does millions of pay-per-views, and he's, sells out 50,000 seater stadiums. I never once said that Canelo wasn't exciting. Canelo's one of the most exciting fighters out there. He's such a great fighter to watch. So Canelo, 100%, you're right. He's a very exciting fighter. Crawford's not seen as very exciting at all. Even though Crawford is a good fighter to watch, I just don't think he doesn't have the same pull. It's irrelevant though, because even if there could be boring fighters, for example, Mayweather wasn't very exciting, but he has the biggest numbers in the history of the sport. So it's irrelevant whether someone's exciting or boring, but Mayweather was probably one of the most, he wasn't the most exciting fighter to watch, but he has the best numbers in history in terms of pay-per-view. So It's irrelevant about whether someone's boring or exciting, even though Canelo is an exciting fighter. But to say that even that point where you made where he does 50,000, Canelo's got a huge fan base. But regardless of that, regardless of the big fan base or not, Canelo, who would I rather watch? Usyk, Crawford, or Canelo? Canelo's more exciting to watch. That's why Canelo's one of my favorite fighters in boxing today. You know, I don't really like. Usyk is great to watch. He's a great, he's a great technician. So is Crawford. He's a great technician. You know, he can switch it, he can do all of that. But he's not as exciting to watch as a Canelo Alvarez for me, because Canelo can change the complexion of a fight with one punch. Usyk can't really. And Crawford, I know he's been getting knockouts, but he's been fighting guys that are not in their prime or not top tier welterweights. I think Canelo can change the complexion of a fight with one punch. He did it with Kovalev. You know, he wasn't looking great. Like, Canelo at certain times in fights doesn't always look great. You know, and he'll pull it out like Kovalev. You know, some people thought he was behind against Kovalev. I mentioned Amir Khan. People thought he was behind there. You know, the Billy Joe Saunders fight. Even though I thought he was ahead in that fight. But that's what I mean when I mean like pleasing to the eye in terms of technical skills. Canelo doesn't get credit for his skills, but Canelo's a fighter that's very rare. He's a boxer puncher. He doesn't really get the credit for his boxing skills. Canelo's not really, for me, I don't view Canelo as a powerhouse like what a lot of boxing fans view Canelo. I view Canelo as a boxer puncher, where he can box and he can punch. But I just wanted to clear that out with Shin Shampoo. No hard feelings. Like, I do this a lot. When someone makes a point, I like to address it. You know, we do it in the live stream. We go back and forth. So Shin Shampoo is not I just wanted to address what you were saying. But thank you for your comment. I really appreciate it. And about the repetitive stuff, I try to change up the topics. I try to talk about different stuff. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on and leaving your thoughts. Same with you, Eric Gomez. I appreciate it. You said that, you know, sometimes my content is repetitive, but you enjoy listening to me. That means a lot, man. That means a lot. And I really appreciate all of you guys. You know, when you guys leave your thoughts, and even if you sometimes you're having a go at me, I don't really take it personal. I like it. I like having a debate because you're leaving your opinions. You're letting me know that we want something else. Don't just keep going babbling about that. It only improves my channel, and that's what I want from you guys. I want you guys to be honest with me, because you the guys that are gonna grow my channel. You're the ones that are gonna watch my videos. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you know, all of you. You know, so it means a lot. But yeah, in terms of this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the comments that Crawford made about, you know, Canelo beating Errol Spence. Canelo, I've said in the past that I don't really want to see Canelo fight Errol Spence, because I think Canelo would beat him quite comfortably. And I think Terence Crawford said he would beat Canelo, which he wouldn't. But I do agree with Terence Crawford about Errol Spence, that Errol Spence is made for Canelo. Errol Spence is made for Canelo Alvarez. If you look at Errol Spence's style, the way he fights, Canelo would, for me, even though Crawford is smaller, I think Crawford would give Canelo a lot more problems than Errol Spence. I think Canelo Alvarez would love Errol Spence's style, because Errol Spence stays there. He likes to have a fight. Now, I know people are going to bring up Mikey Garcia. Errol Spence had a lot of physical advantages over Mikey Garcia. But when you look at a fight with someone like Porter, when Porter made him fight, Errol Spence had a hard night. Now, Errol Spence is a good boxer. I just don't think he could outbox Canelo. Canelo's too good a boxer, and I think Canelo would drag him into a war. And as soon as Canelo gets on the inside, I think Canelo would bang the body, and Canelo would take Errol Spence somewhere dark. And like I said, I don't know if Errol Spence could, because I saw Porter rock Errol Spence. I just don't think that he would be able to take Canelo's power for the 12 rounds. Even if he was able to take it for a couple of rounds, I think Canelo would wear him down and stop him. So I do agree with Terence Crawford that stylistically, I think that fight would be a horrible fight for Errol Spence. This is why I was against it, because I think it's kind of like a damaging fight for me, looking at it for Spence. I just don't think Spence can win that fight. I like Errol Spence. You guys know I like Errol Spence, but I don't think he could beat Canelo. I don't think it's a very competitive fight either. I think Canelo's too big. I think he's too strong. I think he's too skilled. Canelo's, for me, are more skilled. He's more skilled than Spence. I know people may disagree. I think Canelo is more skilled than Spence. I think he's a bigger puncher than Spence. And Spence isn't exactly like, you know, Spence's feet are like Canelo's. They're not. Spence hasn't got fast feet. He's not the fastest. He's also seen as somebody like Canelo in his own weight class. I just think Canelo would batter Spence. I don't think I think styles make fights. And Crawford's right where he says, even though Crawford said he'd beat Canelo, he wouldn't beat Canelo because Canelo's size and strength and skills would get to Crawford in the fight. But Crawford's style would cause Canelo a lot more trouble because Crawford's more a natural boxer. You know, for me, he's got a lot more tools in the toolbox, and he would cause Canelo a lot more trouble. It's just that the size and the strength of Canelo would be too much for Crawford. But for Spence, I don't think Spence would cause Canelo much trouble at all. I think Spence fights like Canelo, but he's just a smaller version. And yeah, Spence is a southpaw. But Canelo's fought Billy Joe, who's a southpaw. Even though Spence is better than Billy Joe, but he's smaller. And like I said, Spence isn't as slick as Billy Joe. Spence again, he likes to break you down, like Canelo does. Canelo likes to wear you down and break you down. But Canelo's the bigger guy. So Spence ain't going to be able to hurt Canelo. But Canelo will be able to hurt him. And Spence likes to do a lot of body work. He likes to get on the inside. If he gets on the inside against Canelo, Canelo's going to, for me, destroy his body. And like I said, Canelo has the power to hurt Spence because he's a bigger man. He's a stronger man. He's been operating at higher weight classes. Spence has been operating at 147 his whole career, and he's still at 147. And Spence must be in his 30s now. I'm pretty sure he must be 30-something. So how much bigger can he get? I don't know. I don't really think even at 160. I know people said at 160 it would be a good fight. You know, Crawford, look how many weight classes Canelo's moved up. So it's different. Canelo's body structure is different. Canelo's body frame is different. Canelo's massive. Even when Canelo was fighting at lower weight classes, you could tell Canelo's body structure is completely different. Canelo has a thick body frame. Someone that studied sports science, I can tell when I look at bodies, Canelo has a very thick body structure. Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, these guys have a skinny built body structure. It's a completely different body structure. Canelo has a very thick set body. You look at the size of his neck, his arms. He's more of a stocky build, like a proper powerhouse, built like a tank, you know, whereas Spence is more like, he's more ripped and more lean and you know, he's more of a skinny built guy. So putting muscle, like he'd have to put muscle on. And I don't think that would slow Errol Spence down. Same with Crawford. Crawford he's again another guy that's he's more of a skinny build. You know, if you look at those guys on the scales, Crawford, Spence, and Canelo. Crawford and Spence, even though Canelo looks great as well, Crawford and Spence would look much better than Canelo. But Canelo's massive. Canelo's a thick-built guy. Hence why he's been able to move up the weight classes. I don't think that Spence. I think Crawford's been able to move up the weight classes because I think Crawford is so skilled. However, his competition is questionable, and now we will find out when he fights the top tier welterweights, like your Thurmans, like your Porters, whether his skill will overcome their size and strength that those guys have. But I don't think Crawford and Spence could compete with Canelo, and I don't think Spence can compete with Canelo. I think Spence would get knocked out. I do. I think Canelo is too strong. I think he punches too hard. I just think he's too rough for Spence. I do. I think he would beat him. Even though Spence is good, I just don't think styles make fights. I think styles make fights, and I don't think stylistically, I don't think that's a good fight for Spence at all. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you think Canelo Alvarez would beat Spence easily? Or do you think Spence and Canelo is a good fight? Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. I don't think it's a good fight. I've never always been against it. I think Canelo would beat him easy. I don't like the fight. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.